In this video, we're going to look at some basic ways to solve for variables. First, let's look at some basic rules. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to both sides. This is something you've been learning in algebra for a while now, but very important when we're solving for variables. When one term is attached to another one, and you want to move it, you must use the opposite operation. If it is added, you must subtract, and if it is subtracted, you must add. If it is multiplied, you must divide, and if it is divided, you must multiply. If it is squared, you must square root, and if it is square rooted, you must square. So let's look at some examples. A is equal to B plus C. Now let's say we want to solve for C. Because the B is attached to the C with an addition, we must subtract the B from both sides, and we get A minus B equals C. So let's break this into some steps. A equals B plus C. Now we must subtract a B from both sides because the B is attached to the C by addition, and because we must do the same thing to both sides, we have to subtract the B from both sides. Now we have B minus B, which is nothing, so we can cancel those out, and we get A minus B equals C. Let's look at another example. A is equal to BC. So if we want to solve for B, we can just move the C under the A. Let's break down the steps. B is attached to C by multiplication. That means that we must divide both sides by C, and now we end up with a C over C, and anything divided by itself is 1, so it cancels out and just becomes A over C equals B. If we start with A equals B over C, and we want to solve for B, we can slide the C over to the A, and we have AC equals B. The steps to get there are the B and the C are attached by a division operation. This means that we must multiply both sides by C, so we get AC is equal to BC over C. Now again we have a C over C, which is just 1, so they cancel each other, and we get AC equals B. So what about if we have A equals B over C, but this time we want to solve for C? Now this is actually a two-step operation. So first of all, because the B is attached to the C by division, we must multiply both sides by C. And then because the A is attached to the C by multiplication, we must divide both sides by A, and we get C is equal to B over A. The shortcut for this is whenever you are trying to solve for a variable that's on the bottom of a fraction, you can just swap it with whatever's on the opposite side of the equals. Let's look at a word problem. If a person walks 5 kilometers per hour for 2 hours, how far will they have walked? Now this one seems very simple, and it is, but we're using it because it shows how to solve for a variable. So we have the equation speed equals distance over time, or S equals d over t. We can fill in the information we know, which is our speed and our time. Now if we want to solve for our distance, right now the distance is attached to the 2 by a division. That means that we need to multiply both sides by 2. And we get 2 times 5 is equal to 2 times d over 2. Now 2 over 2 is just 1, so it cancels out, and we get 10 is equal to d. They will have walked 10 kilometers. Using Pythagoreans' theorem, calculate the base of this. So Pythagoreans' theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We'll fill in the information we know, which is b and c. Now the a squared is attached to the 8 squared by an addition, so we're going to need to subtract. When we subtract 8 squared from both sides, we get a squared is equal to 10 squared minus 8 squared. Now we can square root both sides to turn the a squared into an a. So if we take the square root of 10 squared minus 8 squared, that's 100 minus 64, we get the square root of 36. And the square root of a squared is just a. The square root of 36 is 6. So the base of this triangle is 6 centimeters. In this example, we'll look at centripetal acceleration. Let's say that we know that our acceleration is 0.25, and our radius is 16, what is the velocity? And we can see that our velocity is attached to the 16 by division. That means we're going to multiply both sides by 16. So we get 16 times 0.25 equals 16v squared over 16. Now 16 over 16 is just 1, so they're going to cancel. 16 times 0.25 is 4, so we get 4 is equal to v squared. We need to find v, and the opposite of squaring is square rooting, so we will square root both sides, and we get 2 is equal to v. So our velocity is 2. Here's one quick tip. If you are multiplying or dividing and not sure what to do, put everything into fractions. For instance, if you want to solve for b, convert a equals b over c to a over 1 equals b over c. Then multiply both sides by c over 1. This gives you c over 1 times a over 1 equals c over 1 times b over c. Because c over c is equal to 1, they cancel, resulting in ac equals b. Sometimes putting everything into fractions can really help you keep everything straight when you're trying to figure out whether to multiply or divide. So take some time, work lots of examples so you can get proficient at this.